Back in 2019, something really interesting happened to me. I was in a plant medicine ceremony and I floated into another dimension, one that was higher in vibration and lower in density than the one that we're currently in here in the three-dimensional plane. The creatures there were really excited not only to talk to me, but also to send me back with some new knowledge and to show me some things. Some of that knowledge that I received from this experience was later verified by books that I read that just came to me synchronistically, and even quantum theory. Hello my loves, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, I'm Leeor Alexandra. Happy 2022! I believe that this is, after the affirmations video, this should be the first instructional, informational video of 2022, and I'm really excited about it. I have a really good feeling about this year. Something about the energy is really hitting for me. I'm happy about it, and I just want you all to know that I'm like almost 3, maybe even a month off of caffeine, so I'm feeling really good, and I'm gonna keep that, bring that in with me to the new year, to this beautiful new year. I have my blanket here. You guys, this is my blanket from when I was a child, when I was a kid. My grandma kept it for me and she gave it to me the other day, and it's just like, it's kind of like my safety, and I always feel like it's gonna be a really good video when I feel really safe and comfortable and warm. So let's get into it. Did I even finish my intro? So on this channel, we talk about the law of attraction, spirituality, self-development, and so much more. And this year I have some really fun topics because I'm going at my content in a whole new way. I am being a lot more organized, and I have a lot of things that I want to take you, kind of like I'm taking you through a journey throughout the year. So that's gonna be really fun. I'm also gonna take more breaks. So like week-long, 2-week-long breaks where I'm not creating anything so that I don't get burnt out by the end of the year like I have been for the past 5 years. There's your completely unrelated update about my life if you're interested. But today I really want to talk about how we can live in 5D in 2022. That's a concept that maybe some of us might be familiar with, but likely not all of us. And so we're going to go over what 5D actually is before I share my tips. So as I was saying in the intro, I visited with these beings in this other dimension, and they showed me that the 3D, the humanity level, was a slowed down version of higher dimensions. So what they actually said, the message that I came back that I scrawled on my notebook during the medicine ceremony was, humanity is higher dimensions slowed down. Now before this was a couple years ago, before this particular ceremony, I didn't have a great grasp of what's happening in other dimensions. I knew that they existed, but I didn't understand really what is on which dimension. And so these beings showed me that there are several other dimensions, and I saw a few, but according to channelers and other spiritual teachers and other people who have received this sort of knowledge from higher realms, there are 9 dimensions. And then according to quantum physics isn't sure. There are theories, there's string theory, but there could be 10 dimensions or 11 or maybe even more. So science is still out on that, but it is very obvious that there is more than just the 3-dimensional world. You know, time might be in the 4th dimension, and it just turns out that there are other dimensions. It's not just the length, the width, the height of something that is real. It's not just physicality that is real, is I guess what I'm trying to say. So in these higher levels, we do experience reality in completely different ways. And it turns out, as the spirits told me, that as we go from the 1st dimension all the way up to the 9th dimension, we raise in vibratory rate. So the dimensions, the time, the way that things feel are faster and faster as we go up. So just like I was told. Humanity is higher dimensions slowed down, or, you know, the higher realms is a sped up version of humanity. So for today's version, we're going to talk mostly about the 5th dimension, and we're going to save the 4th dimension for a talk on shadow work, because that's really where our inner demons and our darkness really exists. The 4th dimension is an extremely important topic because in order to live as a 5D human, we can't bypass the darkness that exists inside of ourselves that also is mirrored and exists in the 4th dimension, which is why one of the steps about living in 5D that I'll share with you today is going to tap into that version of yourself. So to explain what 5D is, just really quickly, let's first consider the third dimension, the one that we exist in right now. This is the physical world. This is the human experience. This is the material. This is what we can touch, we can feel, and we can measure. So while we are physical beings, human beings are not purely three-dimensional, or at least not all of us aren't, as the majority of mankind currently believes. So we are not only depth, width, height, we are multi-dimensional. Our souls and aspects of ourselves exist in many of these dimensions at once. Some even say that we exist on all 9 planes of reality all at the same time. And as we go in higher realms of higher dimensions, that's where we find our higher self, where we are connected to oneness. And we just right now are inhabiting these physical bodies here in the 3D realm. So while we're in this dimension, the majority of us utilize 5 senses, our smell, our touch, our taste, our hearing, our sight. Some of us have that 6th sense, which connects us to these higher realms, right? But in other dimensions, we have many, many other senses in order to navigate these different ways that reality is constructed on those realms. So in the 3D reality, what is real to us is what we can feel. So a table feels real, right? A house feels real. But there are many things such as love that we can't touch, but we can feel it, and it is very real for us, right? Now, love is one of those things that shows us that you can be 5th dimensional and exist in the 3D realm. So love is a concept that comes from the 5th dimension. A lot of our emotions exist in other realms of reality, so we can feel them here in the 3rd dimension, but they do not originate in the 3rd dimension. Now, the limitations around love, conditional love, those are things that later on came and emerged in the 3rd dimension. So our soul is just the same as the concept of love. It comes from these higher dimensions, but it can exist in this physical human body tethered to this human basically spacesuit that we've taken on in order to navigate the 3D reality. So human bodies are 3D, but human emotions, thoughts, and the soul are all from other dimensions, just like the concept of love that I just explained. It exists in the 5D, but we have brought it over here. And that's something that the spirit showed me as well, which is wild. It all, made sense eventually over time, and everything clicked to me. So we have to understand first and foremost that while we live in a 3D reality, you are not a purely 3-dimensional being. You are the same as the concept of love. You are multi-dimensional. You exist in co-density, which I'll talk about in a second. Just this understanding and the acceptance of this knowledge alone will start to open new levels of interacting with the 3-dimensional realm for you. It's going to be, this mishmash of different dimensions all in one, and it makes life even more interesting, even more fulfilling. So now that we've gone over what being multidimensional is, I want to talk about the 5th dimension and why we want to even work with this dimension. What is so special about it, right? So the 5th dimension is the dimension of oneness, of unity consciousness, of unconditional love and unconditional creativity. It is unbounded. It is pure creational power and force. And it's powered by the higher dimensions and it's fed into by the lower ones. But a lot of the concepts that we have here are almost like watered down versions of the things that we can attain and have in the 5th dimension. On the 5th dimension, all that is love exists there, and only love exists there. The beings who live there are beings of unconditional love and light. Now the thing is, we do not want to escape the 3rd dimension. I know how nice the 5th dimension sounds, right? Or these higher realities sound so nice, but we don't want to escape them. That is not why we incarnated here. We chose to come into the 3rd dimension for a reason. We didn't come to physical reality and fight our way to be here only to escape it. We didn't get this far in order to leave. No, we came here to remember that we come from these higher planes and to bring that energy down to the human experience, and we came to evolve into 5D humans who currently live in the 3-dimensional realm. In fact, if you try to escape three-dimensional reality, and we do this in ways, you know, outside of spirituality with sex, drugs, alcohol, shopping, porn addiction, whatever it is, or we do it with spirituality, with spiritual bypassing and just being like, oh, you know, I don't need to deal with this because I have ascended, whatever. If you try to escape 3D reality in any way, you cannot reach 5D living. In a recent Aubrey Marcus podcast, Mateus De Stefano, who's this teacher, this remember teacher of the 9-dimensional reality, said that if you can't enjoy the 3D world, you can't be in 5D. It's very important to enjoy and to become acquainted with the 3rd-dimensional reality and the 4th dimension in order to live in 5D. So when we live in 5D, everything in the 3D, in this reality, becomes delightful. Even heartache, even loss. And I know how hard that is to conceptualize, but it's not so much that you want those things to happen. It's more that it's like, oh, well, look at this. Look at what I can feel. And like, I'm getting a little bit teary-eyed thinking about it, because it's like, yeah, you might lose somebody that you love, but it's just all part of that experience. It's like you came here to lose one another, and you never really lose anybody, and I'm going to talk about that in my tips. So in living this way, we see everything as a part of this beautiful, perfect plan of knowing ourselves, of knowing the Creator, of experiencing the full range of human emotions, and of experiencing all possible experiences. And we might not want, because we've forgotten that's why we came here. We've forgotten our 5th dimensional selves, our higher selves. So we might not want to feel those things in the 3D because they hurt so badly. But being a 5th dimensional being is being this person that sees that pain and feels it and acknowledges that it's really tough and it's really difficult, but it's also really, really beautiful to get to experience this. Like, imagine loving somebody so much that it hurts so much when they walk away. Or imagine, you know, having such a beautiful life with somebody and then they're gone and you have something to mourn because you had something so big, something so beautiful to love. It's all a part of this beautiful, beautiful plan. So ascended masters and prophets all exist in the 5th dimension. These are beings of unconditional love, and they see the perfection of all that is, and we can be like them. I think it's so beautiful in Christianity how devotees preach to live like Jesus, to be more like Jesus, if I'm not mistaken, who is known as an ascended master himself, because living in a Christ-like way is living in a 5th dimensional way, for sure. It is living in this way of forgiveness and unity and love. And for some people, that might be a triggering thing to hear. They might, you know, even recoil at the thought of all love and light, but if it is more in integrity with who you are as a soul, it's going to feel better, and that's what matters. We want to feel in alignment with our highest versions, with our highest self, with God, with love. So when we live in this way, you can't hate anybody. It's very difficult to hate anybody. You can't hate yourself. You no longer judge anyone, and of course this is a process. You don't even judge yourself. You practice love, and more love, and you're overjoyed by all the little things that life has to offer. A sunset makes you stop and stare and bask in love every single day as if you're seeing it for the very first time. The buzzing of a bee sounds like an orchestra, and everything is perfect and beautiful even when it's ugly and not. And I know this because throughout my life, since having my non-abiding awakening, I've oscillated in and out of 5D living. And while I've chosen to remain physical and 3-dimensional, I often ebb and flow out of my 5D self on a daily basis. For example, often when I record my videos, I step into that 5D aspect of myself, and that's where the information comes from, these higher realms. So when people talk about downloads, getting information, downloading, that's what we mean. We're downloading information from realms that are higher than this. Now, the 4th dimensional realm holds lower entities as well, so some people could be connecting. So not everybody who downloads is going to give you information that is for your highest good. So it's always good to be discerning about how you feel when you receive certain information. Living as your 5D self is a very, very beautiful feeling. It is, you know, having relationships end and loving them regardless, loving that person regardless, and forgiving them even if you never hear an apology. It's loving their new partner. It's loving everybody on the street. It's loving yourself in such a deep way, and it's waking up like, oh my God, I'm so happy to be here. And I would love for all of us to have a little bit more of that in our lives. And it doesn't really matter what your disposition is. You could be a negative person if you're not the most positive person, or not the most warm person, or someone who's easily excited by little things. If that's not your natural disposition, that doesn't make you any less perfect. Let's start with that. That's just your disposition, and that's okay. But it also doesn't bar you from being a part of this fifth dimensional reality. The fifth dimension is an inextricable aspect of you. And if you want to live it in this way, it is available to you in any moment. And some of you, as you get this information and as you listen to this video, you will feel yourself flow into this fifth dimensional aspect of yourself. And I want you to take that with you for the rest of your day and see what starts to align for you and who else you can touch and affect and have their 5D self activated. So please don't be upset with me, but this video was going to be a video about tips on how to get into the 5D, but I think that we started on a good note with kind of encompassing what the 5D is and why we would want to live in this 5D reality. And so I will leave the tips for my next video, and I promise it's coming really soon because this one ended up being really long. And some of you tell me that my videos are too long, and so I'm listening to you, and I'm sorry, and I love you. And the next video will be my 5 tips on how to live in 5D in 2022. So I hope you enjoyed this video and learning a little bit more about the fifth dimension. And please let me know if you'd like more videos. I will, of course, do this next one right now. I can make dozens of them, and I enjoy it so much because it does snap me into the fifth dimension as well, to just speak about it. It's such a beautiful frequency to carry. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to support my channel and support me, just give this video a thumbs up. It really helps. And leave a comment. Let me know what you want to know about 5D and what kind of videos you want me to make in relation to that, or any other requests you have. It's always really helpful for me. It kind of reminds me, it kind of tells me where we are at all as a collective and what you want to see more of. If you want to support me further, please do so by investing in yourself and gifting yourself one of my amulets on alchemybyla.com, or by enrolling in one of my transformational programs. The links will be in the description for that. I love you so much. Thank you for being here. Happy New Year. And until my next video, keep your vibrations way, way, way up.